Welcome to this episode of the GymInformer podcast. I'm Chris Gilbert, your host for this episode, and today our guest is Alec Lowell, one of the owners of the Gold's Gym in Lorton and Woodbridge. I got a chance to work out at both of these gyms. They're both pretty cool gyms. I'm excited to talk to him about it, but before we get started, let me take a pause and I'll show you the photos I took while I was at both of those gyms. All right, Alec, how long have you been one of the owners at the Gold's Gym?
So I've just been an owner now 1 year, but I've worked at both these locations for 8 years.
Okay. And can you give us a little bit of background of how, what was your path to becoming a gym owner?
Sure. All right. So I was a chef for 10 years before I started working in the gym. So I cooked all over the world and found a really big passion for food. But at the same time, I had developed some habits that I wasn't so fond of. So while I was moving through my undergraduate degree, I shifted away from working in food service management, and I had moved into working into the field of nutrition. So I worked deeply to finish my undergraduate in nutrition, and I, specialized in clinical dietetics. I specialized in food science, and I really just love food, from the whole standpoint to how it tastes, how it affects our body. And after I moved through all my undergrad programming, I decided that I was going to go get a master's degree in food science. So Washington State University, got my master's degree, was actually going to go buy a piece of land in Washington State, work on a farm, realized at 24 years old, I didn't want to be $500,000 in debt, reneged a contract on a piece of land, and then kind of out of nowhere, I got a call from the current owners of my partners, and they said, do you want to build a nutrition program? So I accepted. I moved back to Virginia. I was living in Colorado at the time, moved back to Virginia and designed and developed a nutrition program for what was then, several years ago, 4 different gyms. So I was working across 4 gyms, one in Loudoun County and the rest kind of down here in Prince William and Fairfax counties. And I was a nutritionist full-time, 40 hours a week, working one-on-one with the member bases in all 4 clubs, designing meal plans, working on workout programs and that kind of stuff. And really, I found kind of a niche working with bodybuilders and bikini competitors and helping them out, and sort of kind of just immersed myself into the gym atmosphere and really had developed a love for all different aspects of fitness, from how the food works to actual exercise, recovery, and I really started to learn the back end side of the business. So eventually it was I was a nutritionist, and now, I'm going to be, a sales manager, and I'm a sales manager, and now I'm going to be a general manager. And after being about a general manager for a year and a half, I was offered the ability to purchase ownership in the gym. And that's kind of how I went that route. So if you were to ask me 10 years ago, are you going to be running gyms in 10 years? I probably would have told you a hard no. But moving through all the aspects of food, I say, farm to fork, fork to toilet kind of thing, right? Like understanding all aspects of the food and how it affects our bodies. I really found the gym life to be the most efficient place to explore all aspects of not only culinary arts, but clinical dietetics, food science, agriculture, all the stuff that is required, because you can work out all day long, but if you're not eating right, it's never going to work. And it goes the other way around. So I kind of didn't expect to go this route, but by being in the space, I just grinded through all aspects of the business, and then I was offered an opportunity and I took it.
Well, that's cool. Yeah. So now in your current role, as one of the owners, do you guys share all the responsibility? Is someone responsible for like equipment? Is somebody responsible for atmosphere, or you guys share it all? Or
So I am what you would consider a chief operating officer. So I'm the partner that is on the ground in the gyms every day. We collectively share all the responsibility as far as, like you said, equipment, for example. We will go and sit and have meetings on what equipment we're going to purchase, but there's also some one-off buys that I just pulled the trigger on. As far as atmosphere and vibe, that actually is more of a delegation by me to the staff and to my other managers about how we want our vibes and atmospheres to be inside of the gym. If we're talking like aesthetic appearance, that's a shared responsibility between everyone. If we're talking renovation, that's a shared responsibility between everyone. But a lot of the on the ground stuff that you would refer to as like vibe, atmosphere, cleanliness, friendliness, that kind of stuff, all those things that make a gym really great, that has to do with the teams that are on the ground and the managers that are on the ground. And I oversee a lot of that.
okay, nice. Yeah. Now, I'm assuming that most of the equipment that was there, that was at the gym when I was at the gym, was there before you became one of the owners. But I heard from you and from people while I was there that you guys, and I'm assuming it's probably in by now. You guys just purchased a bunch of new equipment.
It's going to be in the port of Norfolk in 2 days. So I got the notification that it's going to be in the port. Now, customs can always be a hit or miss thing since it's coming from a different country. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that we've got it by the 15th. So about a 10-day turnaround time from the time it hits the port to the time it's on the truck, and it's driven about 4 hours to us. We've got 12 pieces coming to the Lorton location, and I think we have six or seven pieces coming to the Woodbridge location. So the Woodbridge location actually just did a big overhaul and sold a bunch of equipment to make space, because they've got a lot of equipment in that gym. And the floor rearrange that we've been discussing is quite a big one, but they just sold a bunch of equipment. We actually, in the Lorton location, which you probably saw, we ripped down that wall to that studio. And that room is going to become essentially all brand new equipment.
Nice.
And even still, there's pieces that we had purchased that aren't going to go into that room because they don't fit. But yeah, a lot of Lake Ridge, the Woodbridge location, it's been acting since, early 90s, right? And it shifted over to my partners in 96. And then they moved it over to that other side of the shopping center. I don't know if you noticed when you were in that shopping center, there was a grocery store at one end and the Gold's Gym at the other. It used to be the other way around. So they relocated it early 2000s. And then the Lorton location opened in late 2001. And so Woodbridge just had their 30-year anniversary, and now it's almost the 25-year over here in Lorton. So they're staples in the community. They've been here a long time, but there are some pieces of equipment, like I'm sure you saw some of the older Bodymaster stuff that we had that's been here since the inception. And we like to keep those older, more functional patterns in the gym, but we also understand the need to introduce more wide variety of patterns. So that's why in both equipment orders, we actually almost exclusively bought patterns that didn't exist in the gym already. So you had mentioned to me, like a hoist pull down, right? In the Lorton location, there's 5 pull down stations, right? So to get another hoist doesn't make a lot of sense, but I know at Lake Ridge they have a hoist pull down. And I think they kept it out of the equipment that they sold, but it's it's all about variety, all about allowing as many patterns as possible to achieve as many movements as possible, while also making an efficient space of the floor.
Nice. Yeah. And you guys went with this new order is all Gym 80 equipment?
All Gym 80. So RSG Group bought Gold's Gym out of the brand, out of the bankruptcy. Man, that had to be 3 or 4 years ago now, maybe a little longer. And RSG also has an equipment company called Gym 80, German-based company. So it's a good way to stay on brand while also allowing us to have a little bit of individuality, because you can custom design the colors of all the pieces of equipment. We stayed in the gray and black range of things, keeping it very neutral. But yes, it is all going to be Gym80. We also, Woodbridge got 3 pieces of Life Fitness. We got some Rogue. We got some Booty Builder also in both gyms. We outfitted a whole room in Rogue. It's going to be a social media room. But yeah, I mean, Gym80 is what's all going to be on this ship from Norfolk on the 6th.
Okay, yeah, I did notice in Woodbridge, I did notice a bunch of Booty Builder equipment that seems to be the rage right now.
People are really happy with it. I know that making sure you target both of your demographics the best you can makes the most sense. We have plenty of chest equipment. Doesn't mean that we shouldn't have any leg equipment. So, we like to load them up and try to represent every single one of our members the best way we can. And I know that Lakeridge was in need, and so was Lorton. We were in need of more leg equipment. Even though the leg sections in both gyms are fairly well stocked, there were just patterns we didn't have. So we wanted to add those patterns in, and after Ursa, and not this year, but past year, and the talk we had with Booty Builder, it just seemed like it made a lot of sense for the packages that they were offering.
No, that makes a ton of sense. Now, with the equipment that is in Woodbridge, it seems like, if we talk about Woodbridge just for a second, it seems like you said that you sold off it seemed like there was a ton of equipment in that location. And I'm happy to hear that you guys are doing a reorganization, because I was rolling around that gym and I'm like, oh man, that's really cool, but it's over there. Oh, that one's really cool, but it's way over there. So it's awesome that you guys are reorganizing and fixing all of that, because there were some really cool, both gyms had definitely an above average amount of equipment and an above average variety of equipment. And it was easy to find in the Lorton location. The Woodbridge was like, okay, it's over here, it's over there. So I think a reorganization of that place would make it a pretty badass gym.
Yeah, no, as new equipment comes in, and you have to think about several things when it comes to rearrange, because if you've got loyal lifelong members that see the floor in a certain way and then you rearrange it, someone's always going to be a little knocked off kilter if the floor is rearranged in a specific way. But you want the flow of the gym to be as consistent as possible. So if you find legs in 3 different places, it might be a little harder to get it all together. So we try the best we can. And I know that Lakeridge, after they put in the turf, it kind of changed the whole dynamic of the gym. And as Gym80 equipment comes in, we're going to constantly reevaluate how to lay out that floor, because with the courtyard, Lakeridge or Woodbridge is about 35,000 square feet with that outdoor space.
Yeah,
right?
It's a pretty big gym.
It's a big gym. Lorton's about 32,000, but no outdoor space. When we moved and had put the tent outdoor and put some outdoor equipment out there, we kind of reimagined the floor, and we've probably reimagined that floor, I would say, 4 times in the last 2 years. And now we're going to do another reimagine. And yeah, I think as that Gym80 comes in, we'll be able to tighten that location up a little bit.
Yeah, and I feel for you, because when I was there was a huge variety of people that were there. There were bodybuilding people there. There were retired people there. There were people that looked like they just joined the gym yesterday. There were people who weren't competitors but looked like they've been working out their entire lives. So in a center like yourself, I can imagine trying to meet all of those needs is a challenge.
The demographic of that location in Woodbridge, it's actually an older community around it. Because of the way that the economy is currently sitting, we're not seeing a lot of turnover in those houses. So our population in that gym, our current members, is getting older, but our new joins is always 18 to 35. So we actually have a larger shift of an age gap in the Lakeridge location than we do in the Lorton location. For all the listeners, it's in Lakeridge. That's the name of the shopping center, so we call it Lakeridge, but it is in Woodbridge, Virginia. So I'm sorry if I'm interchanging. Yeah, but the idea is, if we can have as much variety as possible, there are still people that want specific pieces of equipment that we've been hearing in our ears forever, but it doesn't make sense to buy one piece for one person, right? You have to appease everybody, and that's what we want to do. And of course, people are always going to want something different, like yourself. Hoist pull down, I understand, it's a nice piece of equipment, but from which leg press and which barbell, and everything. It comes down to everything. And when we have such a wide gap in our membership base, you have to provide like everything from strips of turf to an indoor pickleball court in Lorton to a full outdoor space with a half basketball court, all the heavy lifting equipment you could usually want inside of a gym, plus enough selectorized and cable-based machines, and still there's more to be added.
Oh, yeah.
It's a challenge.
I can imagine. Now, from it, you talked briefly about atmosphere, and in both locations, the staff was very friendly.
Yep.
So you guys are doing a great job, like encouraging your staff to be friendly, and they were on the floor. They weren't just behind the desk. It seemed like they were active in the gym, which is always great. But I noticed in the Lorton location, there was a lot of like motivational stuff around the gym and a lot of like graphics and cool stuff that I personally love seeing when I'm going to the gym. And Woodbridge didn't really have much of that. Is that something you guys are planning on adding in Woodbridge, or is it just because the clientele is different there? Or?
We haven't necessarily explored the idea of it's an aesthetic change, right?
Yeah,
You want to add logos and that kind of stuff. So you have two very different gyms that are very close to each other that have completely different vibes. If you went back 10 years, you've got a musclehead gym down in Woodbridge, and you've got an older population, more relaxed gym in Lorton. And now they've kind of both melded into what is, the current trend of fitness nowadays, is most people are interested in weightlifting. Everyone's kind of moved away from classes. They're not, unattended, but the attendance is down. People don't really go the route of personal training anymore. And to think about the Lakers location, you're right. It doesn't have any of the stickers, like we have all those stencil stickers around. Right. It's not something we've discussed, but I think we've tried to maintain more of a classic feel inside of the Woodbridge location while maintaining more of a modern. I don't think modern is the right word, because nowadays, if you were to go into like a brand new Gold's gym, it looks nothing like either of our gyms. They have very, very, very specific guidelines that they're following now, which is fine. The new gyms are beautiful. But both Lakeridge and Lorton are very individual in that aspect. Like in Lorton, that hand-painted Gold's Gym logo is the largest one in the entire franchise and brand on any wall in any Gold's Gym, and it's just there. It randomly happened that way when we opened the gym. Lakeridge definitely has more of a classic feel to it. I think it still has the veins and the blood of a bodybuilding gym. And I believe Lorton has more of this. Again, modern's the word that comes to my mind, but I'm not going to say Woodbridge is unmodern. I just think it's I don't know. I think modern's the word I'm going to go with. Lakeridge has this amazing classic Gold's feel, and
Lorton, they definitely have different vibes.
And Lorton was more of a next step forward. It was the second. And before COVID, back in 11, 12, 13, 14, there was 11 gyms in this franchise group. They had 3 in Wisconsin. They also own one currently still in Milwaukee. It's in a skyscraper. It's over the course of 5 floors. It's an amazing gym. It's a completely different vibe. Same, and then a little bit of what's going down in Fredericksburg. But there was Sterling, Herndon, and Ashburn. There was Waukesha. There was Fitchburg. And then there was actually a gym just south of Lorton Gym on Route 1 in Marumsco Plaza in Woodbridge, and that was like a boutique-style gym. To answer your question, I know it's long-winded, I don't think that we're going to shift to the graphics on the wall quite yet, but I would like to reiterate and maintain that classic feel inside of the Woodbridge location.
Yeah, no, and a lot of old-school bodybuilding gyms are going with some very simplistic graphics, like just like trust the process.
Yeah.
Somewhere, or and it's not overdone. It's just simple. And when you overdo it, it can be too much.
Absolutely.
Especially when you have an old school vibe. So
absolutely. But you're right. There is definitely this more inspiring graphics and feel inside of Lorton. And when we did that, I think that was like 6 years ago. I'm trying to remember because the gyms did not used to be blue and gray. They were all these funky colors. It was a different completely. But yeah, we've never really gone that route in the Woodbridge location. And Woodbridge has the beautiful open center area. Lorton's a little different. Lorton's got that big spider wall, but Lake Ridge is just beautiful and open. But yeah, to answer your question, we haven't really explored doing any aesthetic uplift of like graphics inside of Woodbridge.
Yeah. And there's definitely reasons for it and reasons for not. Like I totally get both sides. Now we talked a lot about where the gym is, where both gyms are. What's the next step or what's the future? Like, what do you guys have things on the horizon? Like, I know you're getting a bunch of equipment in. Like, once that comes in and you guys do what you're doing with it, like, what's next on the horizon for these two gyms?
I've been really, when I moved into the ownership position, we're working with pieces of furniture. These are now antiques of gyms, right? They're old, and the buildings that they're in are older, and a lot of back end upkeep has been kind of on the horizon. Renovations, redoing bathrooms, fixing old problems like HVAC units and that kind of stuff. This new equipment purchase that's coming in, that's like the newest thing that we have on the horizon. After that, the biggest project that we're like exploring currently is the renovation of the men's locker room inside of Lorton, because I'm sure you went inside. It's got a real strong 90s feel to it. It's not the cleanest. It actually is very clean, but the look just isn't the cleanest.
Yeah.
And to renovate a bathroom, the logistics behind it inside of a gym that's open 364 days out of the year is like a nightmare. So we've gone down the road of saying, are we going to get like a portable shower unit outside? And I know, it's irrelevant to the question you asked, but big things on the horizon for us. There's this move and this feel to continue to increase moving very brand aligned with, this is Gold's Gym. This is a plank of strength. This is a place of legacy, and we want to stay within that. But from a brand perspective, I'm not trying to shift into the brand new style of Gold's Gyms that are coming out. It's not quite my favorite. Venice is Venice for a reason, and I don't want every gym to look like Venice kind of thing. And there's definitely a lot of aesthetic things that I'm trying to do in both gyms. There's also a lot of kind of delayed jobs and repairs that I'd like to get done that have just kind of fallen to the wayside that, could be fixed. Like the ladies' sauna in Lake Ridge, we just replaced it. It needed to be replaced. It's been years and years and years, and we finally replaced it, and those are like the big things. But we had, I work closely with our Milwaukee location, and they're getting ready to do a big back-end transfer of all their data. So that's the biggest thing on the horizon for me right now. Also working very diligently in the marketing, but this Gym 80 order, I've been holding my breath for 24 weeks, and I'm ready. I'm so ready to see this equipment.
I can't even imagine, yeah.
Get it laid and just all that stuff. So big things that are next, I would just like to continue to maintain to be the staples in our communities. Right down the street from the Lorton Golds, there's a Planet Fitness on the way, and they're talking late summer. Am I concerned? Not really. I will lose some members who want to pay $10 to do cardio instead of paying $30 to do cardio. But we're working on our marketing campaigns for that already. So there's a lot of back-end design that we're doing, but what you're talking about is like member-facing design. Equipment is going to be the big one for now. And then in the next couple, next year or two, looking at these larger renovations of some of these rooms that just need that love is going to be what's really on the horizon.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah, it's good to hear that you guys are constantly like looking to keep the gym growing and making them better at all times. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking, 22 years in the same location in Lorton, in this tiny little strip mall right off Route 1. But it's just the highway. That's all we've got really here in Lorton, right? And we've never had competition, and now we've got a planet coming, and people were warbling, but it's like, I'm not really worried about a planet, because there are people that are going to want to go to planet because planet's so good about their marketing, right? They'll bring people out of the weeds that have never been to a gym before, and then we call it like graduate to gold, right? Like you're in purple and you'll graduate to gold, right? So that's the big thing now for me. Like if you're talking about what's going on, it's like in my community, I've got a planet, and I want to make sure that I can support my member base the way they need to keep moving forward with me.
No, that makes a ton of sense. Yeah, and I spoke to quite a few people. I always like to speak to members when I go to gyms, because they're there every day, and they'll tell you the truth. And I spoke to multiple people who like raved about the gym, and they're like, I don't know if you saw the reviews, but
Rice, I saw Rice. That was awesome.
Yeah. One of the members who did the member testimony is like, I would never work out anywhere else. So like, that's a credit to what you guys are doing over there.
We have a statement here at these gyms, and we call them LLFs. Loyal, lifelong fans. That's what we want. And happy members don't leave. That's like our motto. If you can keep everybody happy, and of course you're not going to, but if you can provide the space and the environment for people to come get exactly what they need, because in both locations, if you take away layout, if you take away vibe, if you take away atmosphere, and you just talk about workout, both gyms are better equipped than most gyms in the area. And that's important to us, to have the equipment. Now, of course, when we sprinkle in our atmosphere and friendliness and vibe and cleanliness and all that kind of stuff, it makes the gym such a good experience. Lake Ridge we have this ranking of all the Gold's gyms in the brand, and Lorton sits at 4 in cleanliness and 5 in friendliness, and Lake Ridge sits at 8 in cleanliness and 9 in friendliness. So we're top 10 in the brands in those categories, and at the same time, I still have people complain about cleanliness. I get it. Stuff happens all the time. So
Northern Virginia is a demanding area.
Yes, it is. But we have the greatest member base and the greatest community. And even when you talk about classes, I will bet my bottom dollar that in at least the 25-mile radius from where I am, we have the best GGX or group exercise programming and the best variety out of any gym, both locations. And I know you're probably not a class guy, but we put up numbers. And we have more variety and more opportunity to get into a comfortable community of fitness than I think most places. I mean, many new Golds have limited or no classes, and I know many gyms that have limited or no classes. And people are turfing their studios, and I actually thought about, hey, let's turf where we're going to put all that, but we're going to go with rubber instead. But people are turfing their studios and re-outfitting their spaces for group exercise because it's not as efficient as it used to be. You can't get as strong as a penetration that it used to be. So we want to provide a space, like you said, where people say, I never work out anywhere else. That's the world to us, because we want to provide that space for every single one of our members.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, one of the things we always ask people, and I'm really interested to hear your answer, because you've had a very different path than a lot of owners I've met to becoming a gym owner. In the time that you've been a gym owner and the time that you've come up through the system, is there something that you've learned or a piece of advice that you would give to somebody who's thinking about becoming a gym owner?
I'm a firm believer that what makes any gym owner great is understanding and appreciation for the love of fitness, no matter what gym you want to go into. Because there are people that I know that own gyms that aren't the most fitness fanatic in the world. But when you ask me, what would I recommend or say to people that are thinking about getting into the gym business, a lot of the times we say in my work, it's not that crazy, it's just a gym. Right? Gyms for themselves, if they're built out the right way and they have the right equipment, they're kind of a business that can run itself, But we have a member experience manual. It's like this thick. We give it to all our employees, and it talks about all the aspects of everything we believe in and all that kind of stuff. But the biggest thing that I always like to tell people is we have a phrase and we call it topifamim. It means the person in front of me is me. And what that really means is what limits are you setting on yourself that prevent you from being a better class instructor, front desk person, trainer, owner, right? Like, how can I be better? And I think the best thing for a lot of people who are thinking, hey, like maybe I want to go start a gym is, one, you should live, breathe, and love fitness more than most things, right? Because if you're going to be in a gym all day, you got to love it.
Right.
Two, the level of humbleness that you move through and the level of acceptance and understanding of every different type of person that comes to work out. Because when you're a gym owner, you do have a 75-year-old woman, and you do have a 35-year-old bodybuilder, and you do have the 18-year-old that's just starting to work out. And I think the best skill for most people who want to run and own a gym is empathy, understanding the people around you and understanding your member base. Because I know very well that at least once a week, someone drives into my parking lot, looks at the front door of my gym thinking they want to join, and they drive away. I know it happens at least once a week. And my whole goal as a gym owner is to respect and understand that level all the way up to the guy that walks in and says, all I want to do and all that I need to make sure that you have is a powerlifting platform. And I understand that guy too. And having that, as again, totally a tangent, but as a chef and working around the world and being in kitchens, that kind of stuff, you experience so many different things, you experience so many different people, and moving through your day where you actually have the mentality of, I'm never going to be an asshole, and leaders always eat last. I think you'll be very powerful inside of a gym industry, being able to understand and respect and have the level of empathy. But again, 10 years ago, not a chance. I would have told you I'm never going to run a gym. Now, it's the only place I want to be.
Yeah, that's
cool. I love the community. I love the vibe. And I would definitely say you should be a people person, right? Because if you're going to be in the gym and running it, people are going to want to see you, right? But I think the biggest thing is respect, empathy, and a love of fitness. Those are the three biggest things I think that are important in a person who owns a gym.
Yeah, that's awesome. That whole empathy aspect, I mean, it's so important, and it's not something that I had actually gotten from a gym owner before. Like, I'm sure they all naturally just assume it, but that was a different take on it. So that was cool.
Again, there are people in here that are so scared to be in here. And there are people that are so scared to come in here. And that's why when someone does walk through that door, just like you said, the staff was super friendly, engaging, because we want you to feel like you're somewhere you want to be. Gold's Gym, to me, it's not just a gym, it's the brand. I live and die by this brand, and because I've been around it for a very long time, but you go anywhere in the world and you wear something like this, people know what it is. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. We're talking at the most, there was like 700 locations at one point, right? All over the world. And anywhere you go, I mean, you're not going to see someone with a Planet shirt, right? No one's going to walk around with a Planet shirt. But you see this, and it's about the history. It's about the legacy. And I believe that having a respect for the fitness and a respect for the legacy, but while also making sure that everybody knows that this is a place for everyone. Joe Gold said it, the guy who started, that's the point of working out. It's about having fun, right? And that's the whole idea. Let's have fun. Let's be here and let's have a good time. This is my favorite place in the world. I love coming to work because I get a little bit different every single day, all achieving the same goal, and it's so rewarding. And
that's awesome.
It's important to make sure that you respect, understand, empathy, and love the hell out of fitness.
No, that's very cool. I just want to thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. I didn't have any other questions. But I appreciate you taking the time to come on here and do the podcast. And it was a cool vibe. So thank you.
And absolutely, once my equipment is set and ready to go, I'm bringing you back into the gym. I'd like to get that 3.5 plates up to 4 plates. So
I love that. That'd be cool.
I want to get my rating up. But yeah, as soon as I get equipment student comes in, I'll definitely be reaching out so you can come on in. You can get another free workout and you can feel the body.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be exciting. So cool.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. You have a good day.
You too.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more great content.